morning and welcome to another Sunday morning sketch. This is Eric Whalen from Super Secret Project X, and this morning I wish to bring you the sketch joy that is Baljeet from the Baljeetles. I'm going to do the rock version of him. I'm sure someday I'll get around to the normal version of Baljeet. I love that little dude. Right now I feel like drawing the angry punk rock version of him, which, to be completely honest, destroys me every single time I watch him do the angry Baljeet song. So, we're going to do that thing, that sketch thing. And because I was somewhere else last week, I put her on the wrong page. She's supposed to go here, so people are like, well, why do you care? I'm like, well, because I'll get my hand all over it, so I'm going to put lum right there to keep from smudging Verda. Okay, let me do the thing. Oh. I feel the need for weekends to be about 3 days longer. Actually, what I want is I want people to invert the weekend and the weekday. I'd rather work 2 good days a week, to be honest with you.
We all would, but then that would constitute you working 48 straight hours to make a living.
Oh, no, I didn't say work 40 hours. I said work 2 days. So I'm thinking more like 16 hours total. 2 8-hour days. And the rest of the week, you're a human being doing human being things, which is, I think, the way it's actually supposed to be. But that's just me. That is just me.
Well, unfortunately, the world doesn't run off of just being human beings.
I know.
Shocker.
Sort of sucks, but, hey, what are you going to do? So I was looking up images of Baljeet this morning, because I was looking for the Baljeetle version, and I was going like, actually I was going to do Buford. I felt like doing Buford Van Stam. I felt like doing that, and then I caught a bad image of Baljeet from the Baljeetles. Oh, I'd rather do that. So I started looking that up, and it's so, how we always joke about it. The amount of fan art of Buford and Baljeet like getting married and stuff. I just kept going through it, going like. The funny thing is a number of the shots were from the show, and it didn't occur to me at first that they were from the show, and then oh wait, that actually did happen in the show. They actually. I'm not saying that they should have had those two dating. I'm saying that they were clearly indicating something uncomfortable. A little bit too much love between a nerd and his bully.
Everybody, Felix is on. He says.
Who now?
Felix is on. He says, good choice of material.
Oh, hey, morning, man. How's it going? Just so you know, I don't actually look at the screen more than a couple seconds during our broadcast. So if you ask anything, the wife is here, but I'm mostly concentrating on drawing. So
I'll try and moderate as best I can.
Yeah.
Buford and Baljeet.
God, those two are funny.
They are, but I look at it, and this is going to sound very sad, I look at it as an abusive relationship.
Oh no, you're absolutely right. That's
To
what
me,
their relationship was.
It's sad because people find it funny that they pair them together and all, but it's like I'm seeing a battered person.
I know, it's exactly what it is.
And
It's completely inappropriate.
It's like, I don't want to excuse me. I don't want to laugh at that because that's horrible.
Well, no, but the way they did the whole show was between Buford and Baljeet was their entire relationship was completely unnatural. That's why it was so damn funny.
Oh, yeah.
It was a nerd and his bully, and the nerd was looking for a bully, and the bully was looking for a nerd. You know, and it was they made it seem as if they were dating, but they weren't, but they were, because it was a sort of a dating thing.
Best friend.
No, not even, it was
frenemies.
it was no, it wasn't even that. It was a bully and his nerd, and that's why there's a little piece of me going like, and they kind of indicated sort of a weird level, and it was purely for humor's sake, of course, because they had like the Lady and the Tramp sequence where they're both eating spaghetti, and you know, I mean, just so much of it was just so funny and wrong, and I think that's clearly was clearly on purpose. I mean, clearly that's why that was so fun. But I could see why some of the fanboys and fangirls were like, yeah, let's do a gay Baljeet and Buford artwork. And I just, every single time I kind of like, oh, I'm looking up Phineas and Ferb, I'm like, yep, there's that joke, you know, kind of.
It's the whole thing of people are going to ship anything and everything no matter what. If there's
No matter what you do.
If two people appear in a room together, then for some reason people are going to put them together. It's one of the stupidest things on the internet. But it lets people have their fantasies, and I have no problems with people wanting and having their own takes on stories. Let them do what they have fun with, and it's like, you know, as long as you're not hurting anybody or chasing down the creators and yelling at them, which is, unfortunately, that does happen. It's like, you know what, okay, it ain't my cup of tea, but I don't have to drink it.
Well, I just thought it added a wonderfully crazy level of, because clearly they were still being kind of innocent in that way. They weren't totally indicating it, but it was clear that they were kind of like poking just enough at it that the audience was kind of giggling, and some of them didn't even know why. And it was, you know, in like the basically their love song when a boy misses his bully, which is just
when the bully misses his
oh my.
Jay is watching. He says, "Lum," as for your pencil.
Oh. There we
Jay
go.
Hines.
Actually, say, oh, Baljeet's coming up pretty well. What do you think, Lum? Oh, I think it's looking pretty good. I'm gonna go back over here now. Thank you, Lum. I've got 2 women in my household, 3 if you count one of the potted plants would be my wife, and the only mistress I'm allowed a flat piece of plastic with Lum on it. If I went any more 3-dimensional than that, I'd get my butt kicked.
Oh, you wouldn't get your butt kicked. You just get your butt kicked out of the house. That's all.
No, I'd probably kick my own butt out of the house, to be honest. I don't deserve what I got.
And don't you forget it.
This is true. This is true, and I don't think I can forget it. I mean, my memory's terrible, but it ain't that bad. I'm so angry.
Jay says, "Lum," more like yum.
Oh, I know. I always find it funny that, and I get it's the different generations, blah, blah, blah. And she was of a certain generation, and a lot of the new characters are the new generation, blah, blah, blah. I get it, I'm not stupid. But you just look at some characters, at least to me, and they kind of just sort of are a basic symbol of, you know, like sexiness or whatever. And then like the fanboys will go after like sort of these stranger ones, where I end up going like, well, the character's not unattractive, but they're not really sexy. And like Lum is like sort of that cute, full-cheeked, like full hair, kind of classic, kind of sexy anime girl. which was her function on the show. Well, that and electrocuting people. Dangerous. She was the dangerous, sexy anime girl. And then, and I get it, people are like, oh, I'm really into this show, I really like this character, blah, 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 and I get it, but then you just look at the character and go like, man, that's really specifically your thing. I'm not talking about what is my thing. I'm talking about, well, like characters you kind of look at like symbols, like you're reading symbols that form words, kind of a thing. And there's just certain looks and stuff that just, to me, kind of read that way, and Lum is like one of those ones where she just sort of perfectly symbolizes like that youthful kind of energetic, being that she electrocutes people, kind of sexiness, and that's why I always like Lum. It's another reason why I like Jessica Rabbit. You know, she's got like that perfect like glamorous singer kind of sexiness going on.
And built like a brick house.
And like a brick house. And almighty mighty. Let it all hang out.
Shake it down, shake it down, shake it down now.
Shake it down, shake it down, shake it down now. Brick. I really like the masonry on that character. Yes, thank you, Baljeet.
And we have Jay Barron that is joining us too.
Woohoo! Morning, fellers. I am not doing Baljeet. I am doing Baljeet from the Baljeetles. For anyone just tuning in from TV land.
From the show Phineas and Ferb.
From the show Phineas and Ferb. Yes, this is not my character. I only wish I could have created characters this nice. I've got some okay characters, none of which are, I think, compete with many of the designs on Phineas and Ferb.
For those of you who have never watched Phineas and Ferb, I suggest you watch Phineas and Ferb.
Oh, yeah, no joke.
Very fun, very good cartoon.
Well, I used to be a huge Family Guy fan. And as I've gotten older, the more and more I've realized it's just not... There's parts of it that are super funny, especially some of the early stuff. But overall, it's just sort of... I don't know. I kind of lost interest in it. And I just still can't stop myself from turning Phineas and Ferb on. Because the humor in it is just so beautifully timed, and the characters are so funny. And they use their own pre-established comedic triggers and jokes against the audience. Like they evolve them, and they don't keep just doing the same thing over and over again. And Family Guy kind of did that. And like it's like they would kind of find a joke, and they would kind of keep doing it. They'd mod it a little bit, but they'd keep doing it. Phineas and Ferb, they would really have like a long memory to their jokes. And they will evolve jokes from like 3 seasons earlier. And you were like, man, it's like they're still doing that. Good, like, holy cow, good for you.
And when they do that, they put a twist on it that is like...
Yeah, they evolve it, yeah.
and it's great.
Like my favorite stuff is the musical humor, which is one of the reasons why I like Baljeet from the Baljeetles. It's a whole, for those whom do not know this episode, it's a whole episode where, Baljeet is a character who really loves homework, and he doesn't want to be in summer vacation anymore. He wants to go back to school. So he's continually finding like summer school stuff to do. And so he gets into the School of Rock, which he thought was a geological class, and it was a rock class. And so he doesn't understand how to rock and roll, and he just doesn't know how to do it. But he wants to desperately get an A and pass the class. What's really awesome is the rock guy has no grades, and he finally informs Baljeet near the end of the episode. It's like, oh no, there's no grades. So is it a pass-fail? It's like, no, it's you just rock. There's no grades, and you get this whole like really where suddenly he is filled with rage and anger and frustration and resentment, and he goes out and he freaking rocks, And it's this wonderful song about him being angry that there's no grades. And it's just so funny. I laughed my butt off so hard the first time I saw it. Laughed my butt off pretty hard the second time I saw it too. The song was really good, and it's really funny because the voice actor very much sounds like this. I mean, it's just really like, and to have that voice singing like this, like real hard punker kind of song, it's just really funny. I mean,
Jay Barron says the giant floating baby head. What the hell was that?
oh no. No, I just got done the last week watching the two-parter Night of the Pharmacist, where it's the big zombie one. It's really good. And the baby head's floating through town, and he gets tagged by one of the pharmacists. It just turns into a giant pharmacist head floating around. With a giant Doofenshmirtz head. Yeah, it's just so funny. Such a good show. And it's another one of those ones where you try to tell people to watch it that don't watch it, and they look at it and they go, well, this is... Why do you want me to watch this? This clearly looks like a little kid's show. Well, it is a little kid's show. It's an amazingly well-written kid's show. It's just...
It's an all ages show.
Well, it's an all ages, but it's quite clear what the initial audience was. I mean, there's no mystery there. And... Oh, just so good.
I'm really tempted, if I actually had the time and money, I would build myself a Klimpaloon.
Oh, Krimpaloon.
And just walk around. Nine, 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 nine. That'd be great.
It makes me so angry. Oh my God! The first time I saw that. So it's a lot of people have accused me over the years because I'm not a big musical fan. I like music. I'm not really into musicals. I find them disruptive. And they're like, well, you just don't like music. And I'm like, no, I just don't like musicals typically unless it's really well integrated and it really works. And Phineas and Ferb is one of my most favorite examples. I'm like, no, Phineas and Ferb does it right. Out of, 4 seasons? There's like 2 songs that I didn't get into. That's saying something when almost every single like Disney movie sequence, musical sequence, just made me want to leave. They're typically not funny. They typically have very little to do with the story, or it feels like a crutch, where it's like instead of telling story, it's like, oh, we don't have to be clever with the story. We just have to do the typical standardized musical number here that indicates that they're going to go out on the road and do the thing. And then once you get that, you don't actually have to worry about writing anything interesting. Just everybody goes like, oh, it's the song. I get it. Now they're leaving. And to me, it's a hideous crutch. And I like character and stories. So to me, it's super hard to watch.
Music, when you have musicals, to me, one of the main purposes, because I do like musicals, the music itself should be a link into the different, as Brain is still trying to wake up.
Like an emotional bridge kind of a thing?
A bridge in a way, but it should be a connector to each scene that's happening. And it should lead into the next, not set, not...
Well, to me, it should be a functional part of the story, like you're saying. Like it's going from one thing to another. You can see the boom, boom, boom. Okay, now we're here. But most of them don't do that. They just go like, here's one story, and there's another story, and here's this musical bit in the middle that connects it all together, and everybody's supposed to just sort of nod their head and go, yeah, I'll buy the soundtrack. And it's just such a crutch. And it doesn't function very well. And every once in a while when it does, I've seen some musicals where I'm like, no, that worked out pretty well. That was okay. I enjoyed that. But with Phineas and Ferb, when you hit the musical sequence, it 100% fit inside the narrative. And it was just funny. I mean, really, really funny. And I would just be sitting there laughing, and there was like zero indicator they wanted to sell me a soundtrack. Would I have actually wanted to buy one? Yeah, actually, I would buy songs from Phineas and Ferb.
They actually are available. They made several soundtracks, and somebody actually asked Dan Povelmeyer, who's one of the co-creators, Dan Povelmeyer and quote unquote Swampy Marsh.
Swampy.
They actually asked Povelmeyer what would it take to get an entire Phineas and Ferb soundtrack made? Because they did do the Favorites soundtrack that they put for sale, I want to say, in 2012 or so, up until that time period. But his reply, and this was actually just recently, and his reply was, I don't think that's possible, considering with all the music that we had, that would be over 400 songs.
Well, the thing is he could do it. Because if you just simply put it up on digitally and people could just choose which ones they want or choose sets.
Which a lot of that actually is. The majority of soundtracks are, well, I should say, all the soundtracks are available on iTunes and various pay-for-play sites, Amazon, Spotify, and all those guys. And it is available on there, but as far as like having an actual physical downloadable, I should say, purchasable one, like of all their music, he's just like having to go in, remaster, and redo, and
Oh, okay, I see what
set
you're
up.
saying. Yeah.
He's like, that's over 400 songs we have to do.
That's a lot of
yeah, he's just
work.
like, that's why he's like, I don't think that's possible as much as I would like to. It's not possible, which is like, and for me that point was the fact that with that 4 seasons, over 400 songs, and that's including, of course, all of the musicals, all of the background stuff, all of the incidentals and all that stuff. But still, that's quite a feat, which I'm pretty sure in a lot of other places, that's just a drop in the bucket compared to a lot of other seasons of various other things. But still, for a 4-season run show, that's a lot of music, and that's really cool. That's over 100 pieces of music for each season.
Well, which is, I mean, I get it, but what I'm saying is like Moana or Frozen or whatever. There was not one musical moment that I cherished. Matter of fact, quite the opposite. They drove me out of the room because they were boring and just dreadful. And it's fine that anyone out there in TV land likes it. That's okay. That's your thing, not mine. I watched them and was just rolling my eyes the whole time, going like, I don't even like this song, and it's not adding to the show. And with Phineas and Ferb, squirrels in my pants literally injured me. I was literally crying so hard. And I think I pulled like a rib muscle, and I couldn't breathe right for a while. It was funny. And I mean, I was just laughing, and it functioned in the story so well. And Run, Candace, Run. Oh my God. Actually, most of the songs involving Candace being tortured somehow, strangely enough, ended up being the funniest ones. And then you get these really wonderful ones where Baljeet has like this wonderful, like, explosive character moment, like where he just kind of opens up emotionally and just like sprays his frustration and anger into the crowd. And it really worked very, very well. And that's what I mean, is I got something out of it. And you get stuff in a lot of the big, like, release movies where they're like, we spent $100 million on this. I'm like, get your money back. I'm sorry, no. The first thing you need to do is spend a bunch of time and energy on a good script. And your first thought shouldn't be, what's the soundtrack? Your first thought should be, what is the characters and what are they doing and what's the plot? And with Phineas and Ferb, admittedly, they have 11 to like 22-minute plots. Sometimes 40 when they get the big specials. But when you've got those, it works because the music is so perfectly integrated into it. And okay, sometimes admittedly it's just a joke, but sometimes it really works well in the plot with the characters, you know. And
it also helps that when you have people who are very musically inclined working on the show. Hovemeyer, I think he's also a trained musician too, or at least I know Marsh was.
Well, clearly they can sing.
Yeah, and they had musical training. I think they played various instruments. I think he plays like guitar or something like that. So when you have people who can incorporate their actual musical expertise into certain things, and then know people who do work in the business with music, it makes for a very fantastic and beautiful amalgamation of just a great product. I mean, Andrew Romano, the voice director that we all know and love from our favorite like 80s to 2010 shows and all that, she has all sorts of musical connections, which is why a lot of the stuff when she does voice, she picks her voice actors and all, she knows what she's looking for when it comes to music and when it comes to having musical points in the series that she's looking for. I mean, what's his name, Randy Rogel, one of the other directors and producers for a lot of the shows that we watched from 80s up until, even until now. He's one of the musical scores, I think, like produces the musical scores, and forgive me if I'm wrong on that, but I know he does a lot of the music stuff, and he was responsible for a ton of the music off of Animaniacs. And so it's like, he also he's a musician himself, and it's like when you have people who know what they're doing, it shows.
Which is funny because I hate picking on Disney because there's a lot of really good talent over there, but they've had this musical crutch for such a long time, and I have a really hard time with it. You just get these moments where you're like, how do they have so much time and energy and like financial horsepower and talent and blah blah blah, and that's what they put together? You know, like Moana crushed me. It was just dreadful, which really hurt me because I wanted to really like it. And it ended up being just so mediocre and so hard to watch. And the music, the only music that I liked in the whole thing, and there was one, and it was the traditional tribal stuff that they did once, and it's almost like they're like, oh no, here it is, just so you know that here's a tribal thing. Oh, let's get back to this dread music that we keep hearing, and that just kept. I got to a point where I was physically getting angry. You know how hard it is to make me physically angry? I almost never. Moana physically made me angry. I was literally going like, this is what you do? This is what you do with all that time and talent and money? This is the music you come up with? This is the lack of a story and plot that you came up with to...
They put in like 2 or 3 extra songs by a famous Broadway composers.
Screw Broadway.
And that's,
Broadway is bull.
That's the, well, hold on. I, as a person, once again, who loves musicals and loves Broadway, I like when Broadway is Broadway. The problem with Disney is they're doing their musicals, they're making them, instead of making a movie that has music integrated into it, they're now making music that can, or movies that can be changed into live action and Broadway stuff. They've lost their focus of the storytelling.
Yeah, which is so strange.
The musical portion of it. I mean,
Is it that Pixar kicked their butt so hard that they've just given up?
No,
is that it?
No, I think they've gone to a different section, or they've divided their stuff, because 2 years ago we got Zootopia.
I know, which is why my expectations were so high for Moana.
That's what I'm saying. That was their non-musical point.
They need to go back to
music
that.
In there, but it wasn't people breaking out in the middle of the street singing, which I like. Once again, I'm fine with that. Moana was following off of the Frozen, the Frozen method, basically, or the Frozen.
One of the most boring things I've ever seen.
Which is, but unfortunately, yeah, for you, but.
Yeah, for me.
Yeah,
this is my show.
Well, I'm saying, with Disney, they are counting off of that formula because that made them how much money, and they're still riding the coattails off of that? How old is Frozen, and they're still plowing in stuff from that? How many little girls that how many kids weren't even born when Frozen came out, but now they're still buying Frozen costumes, Elsa and Anna costumes, and the dolls, and it's once again, it's like I don't know what Disney did to hit that I guess they brought it back to the whole princess thing, which they were trying to get away with in the first place.
I think stolen Nazi mind control technology was used, because I watched Frozen, and there was even, and I was trying to pull myself back to like when I was a kid, which I typically do, and I just like watched it going like, this is boring. this is nowhere near as good as a lot of their older stuff. And that's not me being an old guy. That's me just looking at it going like, this is not their best work. It's just not.
And I agree. I'm as a pretty much lifelong Disney fans as we are, I don't want to do the old back in my day they didn't suck. And it's like,
I try to stay away from that.
Exactly, but I've literally been at points I sat down and was trying to think, what in the world happened, like when we were like coming in Disney and around the 80s and 90s and stuff, the Disney Renaissance basically of the 90s, so late 80s, early to mid 90s. All of that stuff, when they had the princess stuff going on, and they had the musicals, like what shifted from that onto like what the 2010s or mid 10s or whatever they are, and that this new generation loves that stuff, but it's like, to me, once again, it should be family friendly, all ages. But I could not get into Frozen, and it's like normally I'm like it seems like something I would love, but for some reason it just did not interest me.
Well, it was a waste of a really good idea. To me, the princess being the heroine, fine. I like that. Brave was good. I enjoyed the concept. I think it's a good concept. And what made it even better, the prince was the villain. Okay, that is a great story. What did they do? They barely concentrated on anything resembling a real solid plot. The prince was like, I'm a villain, way in the background, then got to the point where it's like, oh, now he gets punched. Okay, that's fine. But he really was not that much of a threat. It was really, the plot was just sort of, it wavered between sister time, which is cool. I think that's a good direction to go in. I just didn't think it was done very well. And let's have situations so we can sing stupid songs. And I don't want to use the word stupid, but I'm not given a choice. I literally just sat through, and it was the most mediocre thing I'd seen Disney do.
Well, see, I wouldn't call it stupid. I'd call it mediocre. At least
mediocre is a very good word.
Yeah, and I think where Disney is losing it is that they're losing focus, and they're now making a target audience. They are literally going, this is our laser pointed guide to what audience we want, as opposed to just making a good old fashioned all ages family film.
Yeah, man, that's a shame.
And it's like, once again, it's like once Frozen came into view, they saw all of the little girls and even some little boys, which like, oh, that's cool, who absolutely fell in love with this. And like one of the best examples I saw was this picture where it was a dance studio, and little kids could come in. They had they had a day where you can come in as your favorite hero, so dress up in costume and all. And so, actually, no, this was two different ones. The first one was a dance studio where they had little girls like, okay, dress up as your favorite princess. We're gonna have Princess Day or something. And about 16 girls or so. There's about 13, 14 versions of Elsa. My favorite was the one little girl who dressed up as Hot Dog Princess from Adventure Time.
There you go.
Yeah. And then the other one was
that's the way to do it right there.
Yeah. The other one was a big picture, like a classroom picture, where it's like, okay, dress as your favorite cartoon character, and just about all the girls were dressed as Elsa. And so they made their target for some reason. Jones with a ton of little kids, little girls, and I'm just trying to figure out why, because it was such a mediocre thing, and I'm trying to figure out what was the hook that got these kids so in love with this. Because I mean, even at my age, there's still stuff when I watch, I'm like, oh, I would love to dress up or cosplay as that, or I want to draw that. I really want to get into the world by doing this. And they, Frozen and Moana just did not give me that desire to even want to explore those worlds.
Yeah, they were boring.
Yeah, and
they were intensely dull.
Yeah, and I kind of, there was that part of me just like, oh, I felt just a little bad, just because I'm like, oh, I'm not getting what they're offering. On the other side, I was just like, well, it wasn't for me.
Yeah, it wasn't for me. I don't feel bad at all.
Yeah.
I end up looking at it going like, a lot of the stuff that I really liked from Disney is either the older stuff or the stuff that for some reason didn't do well. The only like big blockbuster I can think of that they did was Zootopia, and I firmly believe that absolutely competed with everything that Pixar ever did.
Oh, yeah.
That it was an amazing movie. And then people like, yeah, but what about, and I'm like, I don't care about the songs from, as a matter of fact, the joke from Frozen that was in Zootopia, the "Let It Go," it was like "Let it go." When I saw that, I didn't even know it was a joke. It never occurred because I hadn't even seen Frozen at that point. I'm not a little girl. Not that there's anything wrong with little girls, but I'm not a little girl, and so this pretty princess BS, I don't care. If I got a princess story, I want to see a story with characters, and fine, it's a princess story. That's fine. Make it a good one. But they're not doing that. They're instead depending upon these dreadful musical sequences and...
A good example of them still keeping to their formula, but yet still getting a good story was Tangled.
Tangled was good. I enjoyed. It wasn't like stunningly brilliant, but it was good. There was nothing wrong with Tangled. Now, I didn't walk out going like, yeah! I didn't do that, but I walked out going like, no, that was a fun movie. That was about right. This is what I basically expect as a general standard for a princess movie. I would like to see a little bit more. I think there could have been a little bit more, but I don't think they did remotely a bad job. I think it was a solid movie, which is another reason why I was so disappointed in Frozen and Moana. They're just no.
I think what it was, and I didn't care for, because they got, of course, big name Broadway singers, because of course
Who cares?
they were planning on making them into Broadway or live action things.
So lame.
And the thing is, I think with a lot of the stuff that they were doing, they missed out on the one point that made Disney Disney. They didn't add fun.
Oh yeah, no, that's so huge.
Yeah, it's like
it's so huge.
They focused on getting this person to do this voice for the
kids don't know who these people are.
That's it exactly. It's mainly for the adults. It's the reason why we got people like Mel Gibson doing a voice in Pocahontas.
John something?
John Smith.
John Smith, that was it.
So it's just like,
I was like, I didn't understand why he was there. Anybody could have done that part. Well, anybody that could act could have done that part.
To get the parents who are on the fence to go and say, oh, well, at least there's something I can enjoy. For those parents who don't enjoy that kind of stuff, it's just a kid's movie. It's like, oh, well, at least I can enjoy knowing that this person is doing his voice.
I don't get that.
That has, in the voice acting community, that has been such a huge point of contentment for a lot of them. They actually do say, they're like, we don't understand.
What does that do with anything?
Like, you guys could just hire actual voice actors instead of spending all of these, like, hundreds of thousands, sometimes millions of dollars on these big name stars just to have a movie. And the thing is, when they do that, there's two sides to that. The one side is a lot of the big name actors will actually come in asking to do that part because they'll either say, from what I've heard, they've said, well, I want to do something that I can watch with my kids, and I want my kids to be able to do that.
And that's fair.
That's one.
That's fair.
The other one is, I'm actually a big fan of this, and I would love to be a part of this.
Again, that's fair. I don't want to like make a law that they can't do it. I just don't.
I'm just saying that I'm just giving you the both sides of the story here. And one of the other ones, they're just like, yeah, it's one of those things where it's like when you voice act, you don't have to be this person on stage. You can come in with your jammies on and you can just have fun.
Yeah.
The other side of that, which is the not so great side, is Chris Rock actually made this joke, and a lot of the voice actors got pissed off at this because they're like, he was saying like, when you voice act, you can you can be anybody you want to. You can just walk into the theater or walk into the stage and be anybody you want to without doing anything. It's like if you're a black person coming in, you can be a donkey, you can be a horse, you can be a zebra. And he was just making the joke about the limited.
Yeah.
The joke supposedly was about the limited aspect of being a black voice actor, but which I thought was funny in that
Well,
aspect.
it is funny because for some reason that held true for like the 10 years previous to him making that statement. So yeah, no, it is funny.
And but a lot of the voice actors got a little peeved at that because I've actually heard a lot of people say it's like, yeah, you could like voice acting isn't hard. And,
No, that's
and the voice actors are just like, no, you don't understand how many years, like just as you guys train to be actors on stage, we train to do things that most quote unquote normal humans can't do with their voices.
Well,
And you have
not to
train do
mention
that.
being able to understand how to just create characters, and that's usually the thing that everybody kind of stops at, but not only create those characters, but be able to do these lines over and over and over and over for just days and weeks and tell you without destroying your voice and getting, it's just, people just make assumptions that it's just making cartoons is easy, and it isn't. I got the first episode of the Brutarian set, and I wish we had better recording stuff. But then I'd get like anxiety attacks or something, and then my lungs would crush down, and then I just can't do it. And then when in under our conditions, being we don't have a proper soundless studio, every little thing that can go wrong, and in their case it's the same thing, is we have construction across the road. For them it's it's going to sound silly, but hiccups or sneezing or coughing or any number of things that will just make it hard for them to keep their voice consistent. And that's a lot of work. I got a lot of respect from me.
Yeah, and even with that, they have all the equipment where they can take out sounds. They can take out.
Oh, yeah.
If they got a good clip with somebody like sneezed or something, they have the proper equipment to take out all of that stuff with the different channels and levels and all. But I think with the voice actors, of course, your voice is that's your pot of gold there. If your voice goes out, you can't do work for the next 2 or 3 days or so.
Yep.
And one of the things one of the podcasts I was listening to a couple of weeks ago had one of my all-time favorite voice actresses on there, Cree Summer.
Oh, she's great.
Yeah, which if you guys don't know the name, she did her very first job was Penny Gadget from Inspector Gadget, and she's just done all the stuff from there, from like number 5 in Kids Next Door. She's currently doing Hagar and Voltron. Yada yada. She's been in pretty much everything. Which, fun fact about her, how she got Inspector Gadget, her dad was the voice of, oh shoot, why am I blanking? I am just blanking hardcore and stuff. Hold up. Okay, we'll come back to that point later. But anyway, they were talking about as far as their voices, one of the worst things they do, what you can get is, they call it blood throat, which is when you're doing a character voice that is so gravelly and grating and hard on your vocal cords and on your throat itself that you can't work the next day. The guy who does the voice of Invader Zim, and once again, he also did the voice of Billy from Billy and Mandy.
Yeah, that dude always sounded like he just ripped his throat apart when he did those voices.
Yeah, he actually said that he would come in and do Zim on Fridays, so that way he can have Saturday and Sunday to recover, so he can do Billy on Monday. Because both of them were so hard on his voice and so all over the point. Because he was like, he's like, on Friday I'm screaming because I'm Zim and I'm yelling and screaming, and I rest, and on Monday I come in and do like stupid laughing, giggling Billy, which is also another version of moving up and down on the vocal spectrum and all. He's like, yeah, I had to take breaks because he's like, I would wreck my voice. Let's see, Tara Strong, with once again, actress has been spanning the ages and all. She did the voice of on Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends. She was the kid, Mac. She was Mac's big brother Terrence, and Terrence had that gravelly, angry voice, and she was like, "Yeah, you do that, and you had to rest because you get blood throat." It's like your vocal cords are torn up afterwards. What were we talking about again?
I don't even remember.
Oh, talking about
Baljeetle.
yeah, we're talking about famous people doing voices and yada yada and all that stuff. I sit here and try and remember that Cree Summer, her father, he was the voice of something important that we watched, and that's how she was able to get into voice acting.
Oh, I'm so angry. Oh, that makes me so mad.
If only I could find a way to express my utter rage to my like-minded peer group.
To a like-minded peer group. Give me that guitar. I'll be right back. God, he's so funny. It's what I love is they took stereotypes on that show and they made them really funny again. And I used to teach cartooning, and a lot of the political correctness of the time, all the kids were like, "Oh, what do you mean stereotypes? We can't do. Oh, you can't do stereotypes." I'm like, you realize this is a cartooning class, right? And I was trying to get them to understand that stereotyping is bad when you're being a douche.
Yeah.
Stereotyping is shorthand. That's why many of Stephen King's characters are stereotypes. Because when you've got 80 characters, you can't give every single one of them a deep, once over for everyone to understand where they're coming from. So with Phineas and Ferb, they took Baljeet, which was stereotypical on multiple levels, and then did all the stuff that just made him really, really funny, because he would break that stuff but would still kind of remain the stereotype. Buford was the same way. Buford was actually funnier because he was the big, dumb, bully, thuggy stereotype. And you'd find out he was, like, deeply emotional and emotionally sensitive and, incredibly intellectual at moments. And it's just so funny. I mean, wonderfully, wonderfully funny.
Hey, Brandon's watching.
Oh, hey man, how's it going?
Yeah, it was. The thing I liked about Buford was, even though he was the bully, they didn't keep him being purposefully, just like unapologetically mean to everybody.
Yeah.
He actually became their friend, even though he still kept his bullying qualities. He was still part of the group. They befriended the bully, basically.
Well, not only that, but they gave a good reason. I could have filled the page better, I think. Maybe I'll come back and give him the ripped up shirt. Anyway, it turned out pretty well.
Yeah, it's fun.
Oh, it makes me so angry. God, he is funny. All right, well, everyone have yourself a good week. We got grocery shopping and stuff that we need to do. So I will do ye old Mr. Rogers bit.
And Baljeet smooches
Oh my God! Wait, you're right.
You didn't do the smooch.
What? How did I not notice that?
Exactly.
Well, here's the amazing moment here. It's not only you got Baljeet and Lum doing the end of the show smooch, but then the book opens back up again. Lum leaves to go do something else, like maybe electrocute Ataru, and then the book closes again, and Baljeet gets a little bit of double action from. That's right, Verda, the robotic hot chick from Lost in Space, which is in actuality probably a little bit closer to Baljeet's type.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. Get a little of that hot sci-fi jiffy pop action. Oh, I'm loving the jiffy pop robot princess from space.
It's like Baljeet grows up to be Grant from Mythbusters.
wow, you just kind of blew my mind there. Wow. I mean, it's clearly not like the same race, but archetypally they're pretty similar, aren't they? That's something to think about. All right, well, everyone have yourself a good week. We will be back later, and have a good one.